Good morning. Welcome. It is Sunday, June 14th. How is it going? My name is Angela. I'm a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And on this channel, we just practice vanilla. That's it. We just hang out. We build honestly, mostly landing pages, starting to venture into web app territory, but um, I really just enjoy landing pages. I enjoy just practicing my UI skills, although getting much stronger at the JavaScript over the last couple of months. So if you're into that kind of thing, if you're into vanilla and you like to just hang out, grab a drink, grab a snack, sit back, relax, watch a little front-end development, that's what we do here. How's it going? We are in the middle of this thing that I'm calling practice layouts. So if you're new here, every time we finish a project, we deploy it, and I deploy it to this domain name, practicelayouts.com, which there's nothing here. The root domain, there isn't anything here. There's just a list, and it's not even a complete list that we've deployed more than this. But every time I finish a project, I deploy to this domain name. We do a virtual host. So we add a virtual host to the server, just a nice little lamp stack on DigitalOcean. We adjust our DNS settings for a subdomain, and we deploy our project here. And everything, like I said, is just a subdomain. And we're going to get caught up with this, complete this list, but look at all these projects that we've finished. I mean, we finish a lot. We do a lot here. It's kind of fun, actually. So I was like, you know what? Practice Layouts needs a home. So here's what I decided to do. And really, I decided to do this because of the last project that we finished, which was this thing called Colorado. See, also deployed to practicelayouts.com. This was more of a full site build. This turned out well. I am happy with how this turned out. I will say that I don't love the sub navigation. Like, I think it's okay. But what I really loved about this project was this blog page. And if you're thinking to yourself, these layouts, these UIs are a little dated. Well, you would be right, because here's what I like to do. In my freelancing days, which was about a decade ago, the height of my freelancing was like 2013 to 2018. Those 5 years is when I did the most freelancing. Then I got my job at St. Thomas in 2018. And I've always continued to do some freelancing, but nothing compared to those 5 years. So I would do everything for my clients. So I would come up with a layout. I would help them write content. I would help them figure out not a lot of SEO, but I would make sure that the sites had good semantic organic SEO. I would do the whole kit and caboodle, right? One thing that I was not super good at was design. I think my design skills are okay, but really, I needed help with layouts. And so I would buy these mockups. I would buy these packs, so to speak, of Photoshop mockups. And I call these low res mockups because they don't really have a color palette. They don't really have images, things like that. They have a layout. They are a guide. They are a recipe. And once you take a client's color scheme, logo, branding, images, content, it looks like a completely different website. These saved, I'm just going to be real and tell you, these saved my ass when I was a freelancer, because I could take any layout and build a website. I just needed help. I just needed to get started, because now we've got a header, a footer, navigation, a home page. And after that, I could build the entire website. So I've got dozens of these mockups and layouts. And that's what I do, is I just look at my collection. I grab a few things that we haven't done before, and then I just build the UI. Now, what I like about this in particular, this blog layout, is because I'm really working hard to improve my JavaScript skills, where in the past I would do almost everything static. That's the other thing. I really do believe that it's a good idea to make these landing pages and these, because they are open source projects, as static as possible and open source for other people to use. And I think I have like an MIT license on all of my open source work. You can use it for anything you want. You can use it for personal, commercial. I don't even care. Just take it, use it, learn from it. I hope it helps you, because things like this helped me so much at the beginning of my career. But I really believe strongly in keeping things as static as possible, because let's say you're like a WordPress developer and you go out and you grab a static build, it's not really going to help you to have something built with a ton of JavaScript, right? I mean, I started my career as a WordPress developer. That's how I know that. And I've worked in a lot of CMSs over the years. I need static so I can build out whatever dynamic templating that CMS calls for. And if you've already built that out for me using a bunch of JavaScript, it's not particularly helpful. Okay, well, with that being said, I am moving into territory where I do want to use some JavaScript because it's really fun. And let's be honest, when I was starting my career, we did not use frameworks. We did not have frameworks or use frameworks the way we do now. It just, I mean, WordPress is still incredibly popular. CMSs are still incredibly popular for big organizations and small organizations. But with the widespread use of React, Angular, and Vue, it just makes, I think it is making more sense for me to use some JavaScript and making some part of my builds more dynamic. I think that I'm coming to terms with that. That is making more sense to me. So because I enjoyed building this blog so much, making just a static JSON file, so I'm not using like a real API, because I don't really want to mess around with API keys. So I'm just building some static JSON files, practicing my JavaScript, making things dynamic, taking a JSON file to build out a dynamic blog, and then using that same JSON file to reduce and grab the categories and count the number of blog posts that belong in a category, doing more posts, things like that. So I'm starting to come to terms with the fact that yes, I can still build these open source, mostly static with some dynamic components type open source work, if that makes sense. I don't know. I just really enjoyed building this blog, and I thought, you know what would be great is if we did this for the practice layouts. So we build a little static JSON file. We build out this kind of blog site. I am going to make an about page and a contact page. And the about page is not really going to be about me. I think I'll put like a little blurb in the sidebar about me. I think the about page, I was thinking about this last night, is that the about page should just be explaining what it really means to practice building layouts, right? Like more of a development philosophy or a coding philosophy around not even front end, but just that if you want to be good at something, you need to practice it. And what are some strategies that you could come up with to practice? Because I do hear a lot of new developers saying, what do I build? I don't have a job yet. I don't know how to get clients or do freelancing. So how do I build things? How do I practice? What do I do? Where do I get ideas from? Helping people come up with ideas for practicing. And because I'm a front-end developer, I do feel like I am uniquely positioned to show people ways that they can practice front-end development, right? Whether that's buying mockups and just building UIs, whether that's using ChatGPT to help you, like give you requirements to practice JavaScript or practice whatever it is that you enjoy doing or whatever it is that you have chosen to do as a developer. So I'm going to make the about page be maybe just a little more philosophical, a little more existential, if you will. And then we are going to build a contact page just because I love form validation. I just think it's fun to build forms. I use FormSpree, which is a really terrific little third-party service for sending email. You could use any third-party service, anything with an endpoint that is either free or affordable or whatever you choose to use. And then again, we can practice our JavaScript and doing some form validation, right? So I think this is going to be super fun. I was just staring at this last night because I love it. I love that it's the blue. That's what it is. It's the blue. I think it just looks really cool. So let me put the GitHub repository in the chat. I did do a fresh commit last night, and it's also down in the description. I don't think I put the GitHub page in the description though. So if you want to follow along or you want to take a look at it, it is caught up. The GitHub repo is caught up. And let me say good morning to some people. Gogo Elmo is here, Malik Robinson. He's our mod in the chat. And he says, welcome, let's be productive today. We're productive every day, but I get your meaning. Andrew, well, are we though? Sometimes I talk a lot, but it's okay. It's my channel. I can talk a lot. I know that's not what he means. Andrew Irwin is here. Andrew, thank you for joining us. And Madhav is here. Hello, anyone here into AI? I mean, and Malik says, yes, we enjoy AI as a tool around here. Yes. I'm into Python and AI, nice machine learning, or just Python in general, machine learning. Are you also a developer? And Malik says, nice. Why do you like machine? I'm repeating a conversation that has nothing to do with me. It's just a conversation that's happening in the chat. They're talking about machine learning. So yeah, I mean, we love AI here. AI is a fantastic tool. I can tell you that this is where I'm landing on AI, that my opinion on AI has grown a little bit over the last couple of weeks. I've never been against it. I've always thought it was a fantastic tool that helps me. I think it's great for learning. It's great. You can ask it questions like, give me a set of requirements so I can practice. It's great at explaining things like accessibility and SEO. I don't think it's particularly good at CSS, but I think that I am good at CSS, so I prefer to do that myself. It's great. It's a fantastic help at JavaScript. Here's what I'm figuring out. Because I spend a lot of time outside of the work that I do that I get paid for, and I'm a freelancer and a consultant, so that's how I earn my living, is with my freelance clients or the consulting clients I have. For my paid work, I definitely use way more AI because I can get the work done so much faster and the clients are happy. But here's the key. The reason I'm able to get it done quickly and without really hardly any bugs is because I am an experienced developer. I know how to write a prompt, I know how to test the work, and I know how to adjust based on the requirements because I am very, very good at gathering requirements. So for me, I think AI is honestly a blessing. I don't even know how else to describe it. I can do so much work so much faster, and my clients are all very happy with the work that I'm doing. And I have one client right now where they do not require their developers to use AI. And the rule on that particular team is just get the work done. Well, they had to hire me because some of the work wasn't getting done. And I'm getting the work done very, very quickly because I do use AI. So I'm just here to say that if you are a developer that's like really fighting AI, think very carefully about the type of work that you're going to be able to do without it. It's going to be hard to find a job if you're not using it. And I'm not saying that jobs are necessarily requiring it, but I think there is going to be an expectation that you are really using it as a tool. More is going to be expected of you faster and with fewer bugs. But that requires developers who actually understand the code. So we can't lose our hand coding skills. And I do think that I have a really good balance of traditional coding, primarily because of this channel. I'm still doing things from scratch myself every weekend. I'm still working on my own personal projects, doing a lot of the coding myself, practicing JavaScript. So I think I'm successful using AI because I am a developer who actually knows how to write code. I think that's the key. So I don't know what the future of development is. I feel like I see it going in a particular direction. I think that it is in your best interest to find some balance. where you are still writing code from scratch, but that you are getting your work done quickly and efficiently. It is very clear to me that that is in our best interest. So for what it's worth, this is where I'm landing on AI. So if you come here and you expect me to see, well, I do want to do some more agentic type AI coding here. I have an idea for an app that I'd like to vibe code, and we're going to get to that this summer. But if you expect to see me using AI for the majority of the coding, that's not going to happen here because this channel is about practicing. I do the majority of my AI or agentic or codex workflows in my paid work because I'm getting paid and I need to be quick and efficient. That's the priority there. So there's that. And Madhav says that he wants to start his own software development startup. Yeah, those those are great goals. From how many years do you freelancing, and for how many years are you into web development? So, and Malik says, Angela is a seasoned vet when it comes to development, more than 12 years of experience. I am coming up on my first year of web development and design career. Yeah, I've been doing this for about 13 years, like exactly 13 years. I took on my first freelance clients the summer of 2013 before I ever even had a job. I was taking on and doing client work. The summer of 2013, I was finishing my first graduate degree at Metro State University in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I was selling my house and packing up and getting ready to move to California. And then I sold my house that fall and I moved in January to San Diego, and I got my first job as a developer in San Diego in January 2014. So it's been a good 13 years now that I've been doing this. My freelancing career was primarily from 2013 to 2018. So I had jobs, I had sporadic jobs. My longest job before St. Thomas was 10 months. So it was very sporadic. I did some contract work for 90 days. I had another place I worked at for 90 days and I hated it and I quit. And then what I was doing is I was constantly quitting and then taking on new freelance work. And I had to do that 3 times, take on freelance work, run out of money, get a job, quit the job, take on freelance work, run out of money. I had to do that 3 times before I figured out how to really market myself and get work lined up and like build a calendar of projects. And the third time that I did that, it stuck. And I would say successful freelancer full time for about 2.5 years. And then by 2017, I had moved back to Minnesota and I was exhausted because it was just such a grind. Just the constant marketing, I don't know. It was really rough. If we had had AI and ChatGPT or Claude or whatever back then, I think it would have been a much different scenario, but I was really exhausted from just the grind. And I had a couple really difficult projects where I knew then, and it's not even in hindsight, I knew then that I bit off way more than I could chew, and I had a very difficult time completing those projects. They were difficult clients. It was very hard to manage their expectations. I was not charging enough money for the work that I was doing, and I was doing a lot of work for free. It was really difficult. And then in the winter of 2017, 2018, I remember January 1st, 2018 is when I was like, all right, time to find a job. I can't do this anymore. And I was very lucky. I got my job at I was working at St. Thomas by mid-February. I applied for that job on like January 2nd, 2018. And by the second week in February, I had been hired and I was working as a developer. And I was there for 7 years. I had a great career there. So there's that. Yeah, so that's, I don't know. That's a if that helps, I don't know. And Madhav says, how can I start my own freelancing? I don't get any clients online for freelancing. Yeah, you're probably not going to find clients online. You can run ads online. I talked about this yesterday too. I'm just going to tell you what my experience is. you need to get out into your community and meet the people in your community who own businesses and talk to them. You need to talk to people at your church, the dog park, wherever you hang out, coffee shops. It's very difficult to find clients online. I used to run ads on Craigslist that because they were free. I think they cost like $5 now. That was a spectacular place to find good client work because the bar is very low. I look on Craigslist now at the type of people who are running ads for web design and development, and the bar has been raised. People have figured out how to write nice Craigslist ads, but it is a spectacular place to find clients. And Madhav says Fiverr. So those sites 10 years ago were on the rise. So I think there was Fiverr. There's other ones. I can't remember the names. I did join a couple of those sites where you bid on work, and for me, it was very difficult to win work. I just couldn't compete. I couldn't compete. There were developers who were more experienced and who didn't need the money that I needed to do that work. So those sites didn't work for me. What worked for me was getting out into the community and meeting people. Like I said, somebody that I used to see at the dog park hired me to build a website for him. Somebody that was on the board of the directors of a nonprofit agency that I did some contract work for, he hired me to build a website for him. Somebody who lives in Arizona who heard me on an Etsy podcast sent me an email, and they hired me to do a completely new build of their website for their school. I mean, that's how I met people. That's how I found clients, is I get out, I talk to people. I did run ads on Craigslist. You have to get out and talk to people. I said this yesterday too, and I was thinking about it after the stream. Think about where people who own businesses and need websites gather and who they talk to. These are people that went to college or grad school together. These are people who go to church together. These are people who their kids are friends. I mean, these are folks that sort of gather together. They talk about their experiences hiring different vendors and contractors, and who I need a website. Who did you hire? And do you trust this person? That's not stuff that you can do in a vacuum online. If you want to be a freelancer and really work with businesses and solve their problems and help them grow their businesses and market their businesses, you have to get out and talk to people who own businesses. You can't just sit in your house and wait for them to come to you. It just doesn't work like that. You are better off getting out into your community and meeting people. So yeah, Upwork, that's the one. There's too much competition. There are too many really, really experienced developers who can charge so much less than what I need to do the work. It's just not a good place for me to find work. So I do all of these things offline, and I even do cold emailing, but still it doesn't work. Yeah, it's tough. It's tough out there. You need to build a reputation and get referrals. So Rizzy G is here. Welcome, Rizzy. We haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? Madhav says, how much does it cost at your region to create an e-commerce website? Any rough estimated value? I wouldn't even venture to throw a number out because I need to know what the requirements are. So I wouldn't even venture to throw a number out. It's expensive. It's a lot of money. So, Anathay, I hope I'm saying that correctly, says, what advice do you have for freshers who want to learn web development? Practice. I think it is absolutely still worth it to learn web development. I think that I don't know how long it's going to take, but we are going to find some balance between people who actually know how to do the work and AI. I know companies are racing to lay off people and implement AI, and I think we're starting to see some of the consequences of that. This is not new. This has been happening. First of all, corporate America has been treating their workers like shit for decades. So this is not new, what corporate America is doing to tech and doing to their developers right now. This has been happening for decades. New tools are always appearing and changing how work gets done. This isn't new either. And I don't fault anybody who decided to go into development or computer science or software engineering, because it was a ticket. It was a ticket to the good life for a very long time, but things are changing and we have to adapt. Some people are going to self-select out because it's going to be too hard for them to find a job. Some people are going to stick with it and figure out a way to make it work. And I don't fault anybody who decided to go into it because they felt like they could get a job and make money. You appeared at a time where that was possible, and now things are changing. So at some point, we're going to find some balance with how these tools get used. I think, in my opinion, it is very clear that the work cannot be done without humans. We still need humans. This is AI was it Anthropic? They were like, we solved coding. What does that even mean? Tell me you don't know what developers really do without telling me you don't know what developers really do. What an absurd statement. Of course, human beings still need to be here to supervise this work. The job is changing. We still need juniors. We do. I know it's hard for juniors to find jobs. I think that's going to smooth itself out eventually too. I don't know how long it will take, but of course we are still going to need juniors entering this profession and learning how to do the work. If you have a desire to learn how to do it, then do it. Take a course to get introduced to something that you think looks interesting. Watch a tutorial if you have a specific question. The best way to learn is to do a project. Come up with an idea and sit down and do a project. That's my best advice for learning web development. That is where the real learning happens. So, and Rizzy G says, Upwork is like a race to the bottom. Truer words have never been spoken. So, and Rizzy says, I got a job as a data engineer. I don't know why they hired a full stack guy into data engineering. I am now speed running SQL and practicing web development on weekends. Listen, man, you're getting paid. Take what you can get. Take what you can get, and if anything, it'll help you. Don't ask too many questions. I know you're not asking too many questions, but first of all, congratulations for getting a job. And yeah, take what you can get, and hopefully it'll enhance your knowledge as a full stack developer, right? And Madhav says, thanks for the help. I will work on my freelancing. Yeah, stick with it. If you want to do it, stick with it. It's not going to be easy, but you'll figure it out if it's something you really want to do. And Rizzy says, I'm planning to get into mechatronics in 1 or 2 years. It's like combining EE, and computer. So engineering, machine, I don't know what EE and ME is, computer science together. So yeah, do it. Listen, there's something that you want to do it. You'll figure out a way to pay the bills in the meantime, right? I'm going through the same thing right now. I have got clients, I've got consulting. I'm definitely bringing in money. I'm not bringing in huge money. I'm getting the bills paid, and we have a comfy little life here in St. Paul, Minnesota, but I'm not rolling in dough. I can tell you that. So you'll figure it out. You'll figure out a way to make money, whether you need to have a side hustle, whether you need to take something that pays a little less, whatever. If there's something you want to do it. Do it. Oh, electrical engineering and mechanical engineering. Wow. That is a lot. That is a lot. Mechanical engineering. I know a couple of mechanical engineering engineers. That is very complex. So, yeah, Rizzy, I have no doubt that you'll be able to do it. So, good conversation. Good conversation. Love it. Hey, do me a favor. If you haven't yet, would you be so kind as to like this video? Subscribe if you're new here. It helps the algorithm, helps get this pushed out to more people who might be interested in this type of content. I'm here on Saturday and Sunday, usually around 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. I was running a little late today, so sorry about that. I used to stream during the week, Tuesday, Thursday, and I cut back to weekends because of some of my contracting obligations. I am on the tail end of a contract here for June, and I was thinking about doing a sprint starting Thursday this week. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, because I think we can get to the tail end of finishing this if we do between today and then if we do a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the end of the week. I think we can get done with this practice layouts and move on to the next thing, which I don't even know yet what the next thing is, but I just feel like this is going really, really well. So I'm thinking about it. I think I'm going to do a 4-day sprint starting on Thursday this week. Yeah, because I'll have time in my schedule to do that. And I would just like to do a little sprint because I feel like I've been stepping away the last couple of weeks, which is also okay. So yeah, subscribe if you haven't already. We are so close to 3,000 subscribers, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. So there's that. Yeah, so here we are, practice layouts. Here's what I would like to do today. I would like to just keep working on these desktop styles. I did realize yesterday that I didn't write any of the markup for the footer. So let's keep chugging away at our desktop styles. Let's get our footer markup in place and let's keep working on our styles. We also need to make this responsive. So I think this is going to be a heavy CSS day, which is fine. I like to get as much of this stuff done as possible before I dive into the JavaScript. Now, once we do dive into the JavaScript, and I already made like a data.json file, which I need to go through now all of the projects that I've done on this channel and fill this out, get this all filled in. And then the header, here's what's going to happen. The hero is going to be the first three things, or it's going to be kind of like a last in, first out type situation. So the hero is always going to be the three most recent projects. And then the remainder of these projects, and here's the mock-up. The remainder of the projects, is going to be just this column. And then the fourth thing is going to be just a YouTube video, like a click to load YouTube video. I want it to be one of the project videos associated with one of the projects, because I try to do project videos for the majority of the projects. I haven't done it for all of them, but I try to do it for the majority. And in our API here, our little local JSON, I have space here for a YouTube ID. So that's the plan for this. The sidebar is going to be, I'm going to do like a little blurb about me in the sidebar, and then I'm going to pick a couple of YouTube shorts to put in the sidebar as well. And those will also be click to load. That is probably my most favorite of all the JavaScript that I've learned over the last couple of months is click to load. I don't know, since the day I started writing code, I've been obsessed with video galleries and not loading 25 YouTube iframes on a page. So having recently learned a really great way to do that with vanilla JavaScript, where you're just loading an image and then you're doing a click to load that iframe, I just think it's beautiful. I love it. So we're going to put a couple of YouTube shorts I think would be perfect in this column. We're also going to do, I think I mentioned this earlier, let's change this from about me to just about, and then change this from contact me to just contact. And then we're going to build 2 additional pages. And then we need to do a 404 page as well. So we'll make sure that we have a 404 page, because anytime you have additional pages, you should always have a 404 page. And then we'll make sure that we've got good open graph data in the head. So we're well optimized for social media and just good SEO, right? Yeah, so there's that. Okay, should we get started? Good conversation. I love it. I love it. Okay. All right, one moment, please. Okay, so here's where we left off yesterday. We need to style what our individual projects are actually going to look like. And then this is going to be the click to load video. So we're going to style this as well. And then let's go ahead and write the markup for the footer and write the CSS for the footer. And I have a feeling that that's going to take up the rest of today. So yeah, we're just going to have a nice chill day, right? Okay. See, I like having this a little bit bigger, but I don't know. It just kind of doesn't work. I have to go back a little. Yeah, this is about the size that seems to work best. So, okay. I think this is called the portfolio item. Let's collapse a couple of these. Yeah, we need to style our skip nav as well. So here's our portfolio item, which is mostly, I think, what do we use? Do we use grid here for the portfolio item? No, we use flex. Okay, that's good. I put in a gap of 3 rems. I'm going to change this to 2. There we go. And then here's how it's supposed to look. And instead of comments or likes, we're just going to have links. There's a really loud car outside. I don't know if you guys can hear that. It's loud. I live in downtown St. Paul, and there's this stretch of highway. It's a very, very small city, but there's this stretch of highway behind the city. And people treat it like the Autobahn. They literally like drag race. It's so loud. You can hear it everywhere in St. Paul. Yeah, anyways. Okay. So this is, so we have, here's our category. I think our heading is fine. So we'll start with our category and just work our way down here. So what is that? That's the portfolio meta category. And I think we just want this to be text, transform, uppercase. I'm going to say letter spacing, 1 pixel. I just think that when you add a little letter spacing to uppercase, to a text transform uppercase, it just looks really nice. And we'll make that gold. Perfect. The other thing that I think I'm going to do here is I removed the margin by default on headings. Let's make this a little bigger. I removed the margin by default on headings, but I'm going to add it back. I also think that see how much that image moves? So I think that we should give this, I kind of want to give that a fixed width. I don't know, maybe Angela, don't worry about it. We're going to have to deal with that because I don't love how squishy that image is. Well, maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe if we, maybe instead of align item center, we could just do flex start. It won't be so noticeable. I just don't want it to be too fussy. That's definitely, I think that would be better. And honestly, once we get this straightened out, I think it'll be fine. Okay, Angela, focus. Secondary heading. And a Jinky says, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, how do you take size references from that design? That's a good question. I'm winging it. That's how I take size references from that design. So this is probably one area where I would say do as I say, not as I do. If you were working for somebody, you were working in an agency, somebody actually gave you these designs, you would definitely want to put this in your design tool of choice and be a little more precise than I'm being. I am being very imprecise because these are personal projects and this is just how I work. I'm fairly imprecise. I'm kind of winging it, and that works for me. If you were an agency or a client, I would be much more precise in making sure, because I have had clients literally lay this over top of the build and like draw big red arrows around spacing. So if it's paid work, you are definitely going to want to put this in Photoshop or Figma or whatever design tool you use. I'm not doing that here because this is a personal project and I just kind of wing it, and that's just how I work. So, and Osloy is here and says, good morning. Good morning, Osloy. Because I'll just be honest, I've been doing this for a while and I can still make things look nice even without um, precise measurements. Also, kind of depends on who you work for. Let me tell you, not everybody is paying attention to exact measurements or pixel dimensions. Some people are. I know from experience who's paying attention to that and who isn't. And and be very careful with anybody who uses the words pixel perfect. That's not how modern design works. That's not how modern front end design works. That being said, though, yeah, it's probably in your best interest to pay attention to some more precise measurements if you have an employer or an agency or a client who is requiring you to do so. But you can still make a nice layout based off of a mockup without that precise, without those precise measurements. So I don't know. I hope that makes sense. This is more fun. Don't you think this is more fun? And if you guys want me to be super precise and put things into Figma, I like to use Affinity Photo, I will, but I just don't feel like it. That's not fun to me. So, okay, this header. Let's do I want to add some margin back to this header. So this is the portfolio meta secondary heading. I'm just going to do 0.5 rems on the top and bottom. There we go. That smooths that out a little bit. And then here's our date and time. And I think I'm just going to flex box these two because why not? And we'll do flex start. And then after our time element, let's do a pseudo element. Where's our time? So it's the metadate author time. I'm going to make this display block. Actually, we want to do this. Do after. Make this display block. Have to have the content property. Well, we're actually using the content property. So I'm just going to put in a bullet. Space on the left and right. Oh yeah, we don't want this to be display block, do we? We'll just do some margin. That might be a little bit much. No, that looks perfect. That looks good. Let's change to our kind of mid-gray color. Yeah, that looks fine. I think we need more margin on the bottom of this H2. Yeah, I think that looks... And then let's change this, the color on this, to our mid-gray color. We can't go as light as this because this is not accessible. But these are old mock-ups. These are like a decade old. So we can't do everything that the mock-up says and still be accessible. Okay, so let's do a pseudo class after this container and add this border. So that's after this. Or pseudo element, excuse me. We'll do after. We need the content property in order for that to work. And this will be display block. And we'll give this a width of, here's a rough way of measuring. That's like 67 pixels. So we'll just do, we'll do 70 pixels. Border, bottom, 2 pixels, solid gold. Oh, why are you not display block? Why are you not display block? Oh, because this is Flexbox. That's why. Should I just make these two things? That's inconvenient. You know what we could do? We could put the pseudo element on the paragraph tag instead. Can you add a pseudo element to a paragraph tag? I think you can. because this is being controlled by Flexbox. Let's do that instead. So that would be the portfolio wrap paragraph tag, and we could give this a class. So we can call this the portfolio description. So let's change this to portfolio description, and then this would be before. And then we'll say border top. I don't know if this is going to work. Yeah, that worked. So that border is inside, well, it's not inside the box model, but if you think about the box model, it goes padding, border, margin. So we need to add now padding to the top of the portfolio description to push that away. Description. So we'll say padding, 1 rem on the top, 0 on the left and right, and then 0 on the bottom. Whoops, come on, really? Oh, hang on, we have to actually do it to the pseudo element. Yeah, we have to do it to the pseudo element. I think we can just do that. Do we need padding or margin? I can't remember. There we go. We needed padding on the pseudo element. Just like that. That looks great. Love it. Okay, now here's our project links, which is just a nice little unordered list. And I don't think we need a separate div for that. Yeah, we don't need a separate div for that. Let's take this out. Call this project links. And we'll take off the padding and the margin, which the browser adds by default. And then take off those bullets. So list, style, type, none. And then let's just flexbox it. Why not? Why not? It's just so easy. Row, no wrap. Justify content, flex start, align items, center. And then let's, I think we want to do, let's do bullets here too. We'll do a pseudo element. So we'll do our project links li, and we'll do after. And we need our content property. We'll just add a bullet just like that. And then let's give them their own color. I want to make them gold. And then let's just give them some margin on the left and right. So again, 0.5 rems on the left and right. And then let's make sure that we are not putting a bullet after the last item, and then we'll actually style the links. So we'll say project links, li. We want, think about this. We want the last of type after. And we're just going to say display none. There we go. And then for the links, I think it's okay for them to look like links. I'm just going to style this text so it's uppercase. So let's do project links, anchor element, text, transform, uppercase, give it a little letter spacing. And there we go. I think it is perfectly fine for them to look like links. So this is what each of our things is going to look like. And then let's give this some gap here too. I kind of was thinking about normalizing the gap. Like I put 2 rems in between here, 2 rems here. Let's change the gap on the top and bottom here, and we'll just kind of normalize it to 2 rems. So it looks really nice and consistent. So let's go back up to our main right here, and we'll add a gap of 2 rems. There we go. Now we have our nice gap there. And then on our hero, it's the padding. So we have a gap of 2 rems in between the items, but let's just do padding of 2 rems. Now that looks nice and consistent. I like it. Yeah, I like it. It just, I don't know. I just love color. But I'm also like kind of a minimalist, you know? Okay, this looks great. And this gives us a lot of room to write a big description. Not that I'm going to do that because I'm not super good at that, but I like having this aligned at the top. For now, I'm happy with it for now. I'm subject to change my mind based on real data once I get that figured out. Yeah. Okay. So this is going to be our click to load video. Let's get that styled and then we're going to work on the footer. Click to load video. Okay, so this is also a portfolio item with a class of YouTube video. So let's style this based on this class. Oh. And really, we're going to come back to this because once we actually get that video working, we'll do additional styles. So for now, I'm just sort of styling like the fallback image, which eventually is going to be, yeah, which eventually is going to be the thumbnail that we grab from YouTube using the data ID, which will go here. So for now, we're just styling a fallback image. Yeah. Okay, so YouTube video figure. Whoops. I'm going to say width 100%, height auto, and then the aspect ratio is going to be 16 to 9. That's that traditional screen size, right? And then the YouTube video image, that thumbnail, will say width 100%, height 100%, object fit cover. So now that's the correct size. And then we have the button inside the figure. So I think we need to make sure that this figure is position relative. Whoops. And then our YouTube video, I guess we can just do play button. Play button is going to be position absolute. I'm going to say top 50%, left 50%, transform, translate. We'll do negative 50% on the x-axis, negative 50% on the y-axis, and that puts it right in the center. Let's make sure that we've got, I think we need to do, definitely need to do some space and a border in between these items. So let's do that. So we'll use the portfolio item class to do that, which is right here. So we'll say margin on the bottom, we'll say 2 rems. Well, we probably want to do 2 rems on the top and bottom, right? 2 rems on the top and bottom, and then border bottom 1 pixel solid. And let's use our sort of grayish color. Oh, we're going to need some padding as well. There we go. Why do I always get this wrong? There we go. And then let's make sure, since this is position relative, I don't want to get into a battle of the Z indexes, but this is a good best practice. On the relative item, I do Z index 0, and then on the absolute item, I'm going to do Z index 1, and I think that will be okay. Yeah. And then let's make this SVG, this play button, a little bit bigger. So the button has a class of play button, so we'll do play button SVG. I like the color. I'm not going to change the color. Play button SVG. So I think right now it's 3 rems by 3 rems. Let's make it a little bigger. Let's give it a little bit of padding and a little bit of a background. Yeah, right now it's 48 by 48. Zoom in here a little bit on that. Let's make it a little bigger. So let's give this a width of, I'm going to do 5 rems by 5 rems. I love it. And then let's give our button some padding. So I'm going to give this like 1 rem of padding all the way around. And then let's do background color. And I'm going to do white with a little bit of transparency. So let's say 65%. And then I'm going to do a border, 2 pixels, solid, also white. And then I'm going to do a border radius of 50%. That seems a little, does that seem too big to you? Here's the other thing that I've noticed about these arrow buttons. They are centered correctly, but they always look like they're just off a little bit. And I think that is just a little too big. So what if we just stick with our 3? Yeah, I think that actually looks pretty good. But let's smudge this over a little bit to the right, just like a few pixels. So we're just going to use transform. Transform, translate on the x-axis. What if we just move it over like, I don't know, 10 pixels? Oop, too much. Here, let's do this. Five. 3? 3 looks pretty good. See, here's 0. It looks too far to the left. 3, I think 3 pixels. I think 3 pixels is good. So now that's an obvious play button. Do we feel like we need a transition on this? If I was going to do a transition, I think what I would do is transition. So maybe if this was like 25%, a little too light. 35%. Maybe I would transition that to full opacity. Let's do that. So we'll just do a focus, hover active on the play button. So we'll say focus. Oops. Hover. Active. And we're going to do this. And I'm just going to change this to 100%, and then we'll transition. The background color, 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. Yeah, that works. I like it. I'm not going to worry too much about sidebar stuff right now. I mean, I think the headings look fine. If I would, if I'm going to write a block of paragraph text, like that would look fine. Really what I need to do is just come up with like what I want to write about me. If I am going to do like a little blurb about me, I'll probably put a picture here, and then I'm just going to pick a couple of click to load videos. We are going to have to come back and style the video once we get the functionality in place. I would just as soon pick the shorts at the same time and that I do the styling for the actual video. So once we have that JavaScript in place, I would just as soon do that then. So let's go ahead and write our footer markup and get that styled. And then we're going to come back up here and revisit the header. I was kind of thinking, if we look at our footer, the social icons are, where's my mouse? No, the social icon, where is my mouse? Here we go. The social icons are circles. And I was kind of thinking, because I'm trying to keep these styles global, let's just adjust this a little bit. So let's make these circles. The hover is still going to be gold, but let's make these circles and give them like a nice circle outline. So, and then we'll have those kind of tucked away and ready to go for the footer, right? So here's our buttons. So instead of a 5 pixel border radius, let's do 50% to make those a nice circle. The background color is transparent, but let's also give it a, well, put this here. Give this a border, 2 pixels, solid, and we'll give it our nice mid-gray. Let's go with our lighter gray. Yeah. And then let's give it a little, it does need a little more gap. So maybe a half of rem. Yeah, I think that looks good. So now this will be ready to go in our footer, right? Yeah. And I do want to answer this question in the chat. What, hang on one moment, please. Okay. And can you offer some advice on web development? Well, it's a broad question. I'm not sure specifically what you're asking. Are you asking about how to get started, the best places to learn, the best places to practice? I think not fully understanding the context of your question, my best advice is if you want to learn web development and you want to be good at web development, you need to practice. And that's exactly what I'm doing here is I'm just grabbing mockups and I'm practicing. Practicing my skills, keeping my skills fresh. AI is really, really important if you have a job and you're working and you need to get things done quickly and efficiently and as bug-free as possible. That's definitely going to be the expectation moving forward with most jobs and organizations and bosses and leadership teams. But you still need to know how to do the work. You still need to understand how to debug and prompt and make sure that you're getting the result that you want. And that only comes from experience. That only comes from actually doing the work. So if you want to be a web developer, we absolutely still need people to do this work. We just do. And I will not back down from that. But in order to understand it and be good at it, you have to practice it. That it's really that simple. So that is my best advice on web development. I hope that helps. Okay. Let's build our footer. I do like this. I do like this. This is going to be so fun when we're done with it. It's going to be so fun. Yeah, and I'm not going to do anything different for the fig caption. I think that looks just fine. Oh, you can't see it because of my giant head. Right there. That fig caption I think looks just fine where it is. That's going to be basically the video title. So, okay. All right. Where's our footer? I want to say that I can't believe I forgot the footer, but I absolutely believe that I forgot the footer. If I forget anything, it's almost always the footer. And yeah, I really was thinking about putting in an Instagram feed here. We're not going to worry about that right now. I do want to start, I have so many things that I want to do on this channel. I can only do one thing at a time. I do want to start working more with Express and APIs. When we get to that point, we will do that. So for now, I'm just going to build out the footer as is. So that's that. Okay. So really, we have two containers, and in the top container, we also have two containers. So we'll do a div with a class of top footer. And then on the left, we'll do a div with primary logo. And we'll see if that works. And it's practice layouts. And then let's just grab our social icons. Which are right here. Let's just grab this. So then the top footer is going to be display flex, right? And then we'll do our div, and I'm just going to call it bottom footer. And this is going to be like our copyright statement. So I'm just going to put in paragraph and copyright date, practice layouts by, all rights reserved. Okay, so we'll do a span and we'll do an ID of copyright. And then this is where we'll put our dynamic date. And we need our copyright symbol and copy. Oops. Practice layouts by, I'm going to put this in a link. I'm going to grab the link to my website. I'll open that in a new window. Oh. All rights reserved. Sure. Okay. We're very close. We're very nearly styled. Primary logo. Isn't that what I called this up here? Primary logo. Do I have this scoped to the header? Oh, that's why. And it got the Playfair font because it's an H1. So, okay, that's fair. Well, let's just add it here, even though it's an H1. Let's just add this, but I'm gonna need it. I'm gonna need, you know what? This is okay. This is fine. This is good. We're still killing two birds with one stone here. So it's good. And the font weight. I was kind of thinking I wanted this to maybe be a little bit bigger. Let's try it. Come on. And why is the font weight? Oh. So Playfair, I think, has a dynamic weight. I think cabin doesn't. Did we like 400 better yesterday? Let's try 3.5. Yeah, that looks okay. All right. And Dante is here. Welcome, Dante. Dante, I think, found me during the 30 days of vanilla JavaScript. Thanks for coming to hang out. We love having you. So here's our footer as kind of our main container. We'll give this our dark background. Oh, and I think it's going to need a wrap around the whole. No, it's not going to need a wrap. Top footer can act as a wrap. So we'll give this a background color of blue. You know, we might go with like our super dark navy. Yeah. And we'll make the color. I'm thinking about going a shade darker. So where's that? Let me find it here. No, that's not it. Here. Let's go a shade darker. Like this right here. Yes. Yeah, I like that. Nice and dark. And then we just have to adjust this down here. Make some adjustments down here as well. Nice, I like it. Okay. So this has space, I'm pretty sure, because this has a paragraph tag. So let's just work our way down. So the top footer, I'm going to say, well, first of all, I think it needs a max width of 75 rems. And we'll just do good old margin 0 auto. And then we'll do display flex, flex flow, row, no wrap, justify content, space between, align items, center. There we go. Let's do 100. So it matches what's happening in the header and in the hero. I like it. Let's give this whole thing a little bit of padding. So let's give it 3 rems on the top and bottom, 1 rem on the left and right. There we go. And then this is going to need a border on the bottom. Border, bottom, I'm going to do 2 pixels, solid. And then let's do our lighter blue. Or maybe just our blue. Yeah, I like that. Which means that this will need some padding also. I'm going to do 3 rems on the bottom. There we go. That looks pretty gosh darn good. And then let's just, we can just bottom footer, center align that. Text align, center. Let's also give this some padding. Maybe 2 rems on the top and bottom. Ah, that looks pretty good. Let's give that like a little bit of letter spacing. I don't know if we need this on the bottom though. You can give letter spacing to things that are lowercase. I've read that you should never do that, and I disagree. You can do it. That looks pretty good, right? Should we try the super dark navy? I kind of want to try it and see what happens. Oh, I like that too. I do like it. I think this border though is I need the border to be like a little more subtle. What if we, here I have an idea. I have an idea. Trust me. Trust me. So let's do light navy. So let's make this, go back to light navy, and then we'll make the border navy. That, it's very subtle, but I like it. And then let's do, we just need to zhuzh this up. So here, I'm not going to change any of this, but we are going to adjust just this for the footer. So we're just going to make a copy of this and we'll go right here. So really we're just changing not this and not really even this. Well, really, maybe it's just this. So maybe we just want to do kind of the same thing here. That's a little too light. We'll change, we are going to have to change the, I think that'll work. And I think we just need to, oh, we do have to put that back in. Okay. It's okay. It's all okay. It's all gonna work out. Trust me. Trust me. So let's do, it's all gonna work out. Okay. So I think I want the SVG to be, I think that works. I like how this looks in sort of its natural state. Yeah, that works. I mean, do we really have to have this in order for these to work? We can't just, yeah, I guess we do. Probably because probably because of the specificity. We don't need that. I don't think we need that. Yeah, I think that's fine. Um, I guess that's about it. Okay, here's the next thing that I want to do. Basically, just to sort of finish up what we're doing on desktop here, what I want is, because right now the search is the label text over top. So I had a couple ideas for this also yesterday for the search. So instead of a border all the way around the input, let's just have like an underline. And then if the input or the button has focus, and this button is not big enough. I just thought of that. It's only 16 by 16 right now. So we need to make sure that that button has the 48 by 48 tap target. So right now, I think the SVG is just 16 by 16. We'll make sure that that's a little bigger and has the appropriate tap target. But if the input or the button has focus, we're going to transition the label. So we're going to transition it up and out of the way for typing. So, and Game Clips is asking, will I be making it responsive? Yes. I tend to do that last. It's a desktop first design. I don't have a mobile design. So when I have desktop first designs, I tend to flush out all of the desktop styles and then I go back in and make it responsive. So that's just my process. Good question. So, okay. So, if the input has focus or the button has focus, then we transition the label. And right now, the label is position absolute. So first, let's change how this even looks with in relation to the border situation. Okay. So here's our label, which is position absolute. Here's our search input. So instead of having a border all the way around, let's just do border bottom. And then we have to say border none and then border bottom, just like that. And then I'm actually going to take out, I think we can have a little bit of padding on the bottom, but I'm going to take out the padding on the top and the left and right. And then here's our search label. I'm just going to say left 0. I don't think we need that. Yep, that looks good. And then here's our icon / button. Again, I'm just going to say 0. I don't think it needs that padding. Very good. That already looks better, right? Yeah, that already looks better. Huge improvement. Sometimes you just have to step away and think about things for a night. Sometimes that's literally all you have to do. Okay, and then let's just make sure that our button is accessible. So right now, the size of the actual SVG is 1 rem, which means that the icon button just needs some padding, right? So 1 rem, 1 rem, 1 rem, that's 3. So now we are 48 by 48, which is pretty big. We gotta make that fit. So I think we can just, I think we should make the SVG bigger so it has less padding. And I think we can adjust the font size of the label. I mean, I had taken this down pretty far. So if we go back to yeah, we can go back to the normal size. And I'm going to increase the letter spacing. Yep, that looks good. And then we can make this SVG a little bit bigger. So if we make this SVG, say, 1.5, then the padding would change to 0.75. Is that right? Hang on, where's my calculator? 3 minus 1.5 is 1.5 divided by 2 is 0.75. It's 2.5. 3 minus 1.25. 1.75 divided by 2, 0.875. There, that looks a little more proportional. And it's still 48 by 48. So now I think we can just go right negative 0.875 rems. That'll push it off to the side. Yep. But we still have this nice tap target. So we may want to, I think we may want to change. We may want to put some padding on this input after all. So here's our input. We don't need padding on the top. We need padding on the top and bottom, not on the left and right. So maybe but not on the, maybe just not on the bottom, or maybe just a little bit on the bottom. And maybe this label, well, I'm conflating. See, the label is not a value or placeholder text, and I'm getting those two things mixed. Let's also change the line height of the label. There, that's good. That's what I wanted. And then here's the input. So if we were to type there, see, that's what that looks fine. See, I'm conflating the positioning of the label with the actual typing, and the actual typing looks fine. So yeah. So I'm going to keep this amount of padding. There we go. And we can just change the position of the label. So I think instead of moving this all the way back, let's just... I think we have a couple options. Honestly, this is probably just going to be the easiest. Oh, not that. 0. But do we want it to be aligned? I feel like we need it to be aligned with that search input too. It looks weird though, doesn't it? Gosh darn accessibility. You and your tab targets. Screwing me up. I don't know. What do we think? Does it look okay? Does it look weird? We need to move it down a little bit. That's okay. We can move it down a little bit. Why don't we just change, Angela, just change the padding on the button. Just change the padding on the button. Does it matter? I mean, do the outlines have to be perfectly aligned? Is that okay? Oh, 1 rem. So another 10 pixels. Oh, that looks okay. That math actually kind of maths, right? There. I'm much happier with that. We've got our tap target. Things are aligned. Yeah. And our button is 48 by 48. Okay. I'm good with that. I can live with that. Okay, so now when our input has focus or our button has focus, we are going to transition the label up and out of the way. So when people are typing blah, 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 and I think that our padding for the button has to match the input too, clearly, because look what happens to the text when we're typing there, which is fine. So and then this can just be 0 on the left and right. There. Beautiful. And then I think we do need to add padding over here because when you type, the text goes behind the button. So we need to make sure that there is padding. So if this is top, right, bottom, left. So the left would be 0. This would be probably 0.875 rems, right? Roughly. Yeah. But you don't really have access to that little button there, do you? So it's going to need to be a lot more. Probably 1.25. And honestly, we could just make the whole search input like, yeah, it needs to be well to the left of the button, but we should probably just make the whole thing wider. Yeah, there. Ooh, that's close. Wow. It needs a lot of padding to be clear. Okay. And then let's just make it wider. I have no width on this, and it can be wider. Like how wide is this? So here's our form, which right now is, come on, 200 pixels wide, and our social navigation is 232 pixels wide. So let's just make it a little wider. So we'll just say, I'm just going to say width 232 pixels, and we'll just say max width 100%. So if it needs a little squish, it has it. There. Can already see an improvement. Oof. She's a lot of work. Okay. Now, the transition, finally. So here's our search label absolutely positioned. Right now it has a transform right here. So where would we want this to be if this was if this had focus. Right now it's negative 50%. If it was just 0, we want to change it to what? Negative 100%? Negative 150%? Where's the... We want it well outside of that, right? So maybe negative 250%? Or we could change this from a percentage to pixels. So maybe it's negative 50 pixels. That works. So we're going to transform this. And right now, the font size is 1 rem, 16 pixels. So we can transform the font size and the transition the transform and the font size to be like, zoop, right? So we're going to go from negative 50% to negative 50 pixels. So I'm going to do this right here. So we've got, well, wait a second. I'm going to do this right. We'll do it right here. So when the search input has focus, search input focus, or when the search icon, which is the button, search, that we probably could have named that better. Search icon has focus. We want the search label to change. So when either of these things are true, we want to trigger the search label. And we want the transform translate Y to be negative 50 pixels. And we want the font size which is currently 1 rem, we'll say 0.8 rems. Which means we will have to say font size 1 rem here in order for that transition. So here are our conditions. So now we have to do transition, and we're going to transition the transform. I'm going to do 300 milliseconds, ease in, out, and then the font size. I think you can transition font size. 300 milliseconds, ease in, out. We're going to find out. I'm pretty sure you can. All right. Okay, that didn't work. What's going on? Did I do this right? Search input focus. Search, or if the search icon has focus. Search label. Why isn't it working? Hang on, so I didn't do something right. Search input Oh, these aren't children, they're siblings, right? And they actually come before. Yeah, the search label has to come after. So let's go back up to our form. So the label comes before the input or the button. So the label is going to need to come. The label kind of needs to come before, doesn't it? So the screen reader knows what it's for. So maybe hang on, we can do this. So if I think we can do, if the search label has a sibling with search input focus, I think we can do this. We love a good challenge. So I think we can do search label has a sibling search input focus. Search label has a sibling search icon focus. Boy, this would be so cool if it actually worked. So if the search label has a sibling search input and this would actually not be a sibling. This would just be like anything downstream. Oh. Oh, hang on. We're in a forced focus state. Did you doubt me? Did you ever doubt me? Did you ever doubt me? We probably don't need to do that. No, we would need to do that for the button, right? But I think it's up a little high. Did you ever doubt me? Why would you ever doubt me? Why? Why? Why would you ever doubt me? I have to stop saying that. Let's adjust this a little tiny bit. Never doubt me. I think it needs to be a little higher. Yeah, I think 45 is good. CSS is amazing. How do you not love this? Okay. Let's close this and zoom back out a little bit. Oh. How do you not love this? I will never not love front-end development. Yeah. Beautiful. bloop, 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 bloop. Okay. Well, success. And Malik is giving me the 2-hour mark. I think this is a good time to wrap it up. Let's go ahead and just commit our work. And I think I will come back on Thursday and Friday this week. So let's do a 4-day sprint starting Thursday. Because we're basically at the point where we need to get our responsive styles locked in. So if we could spend Thursday and Friday getting our responsive styles locked in, and then Saturday and Sunday next weekend writing our JavaScript and making everything dynamic, I don't see why we couldn't get this deployed by Sunday next weekend. Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Let's do it. This is a little beefy for a footer, but I don't know. I don't know if I'm sold on the footer. So I'm still thinking about the footer. We will revisit the footer this week, but I'm liking where we left off here. Okay. Let's go ahead and commit our work. This is a very productive weekend. Very productive weekend. Finishing the desktop tiles. Okay. There we go. All right. And Harmon is here. Harmon Kapoor, hello. Hello, welcome. Thank you for coming to hang out with us. And Malik says, very clean. I like it so smooth. Yeah. I'm a fan. Everything's nice and accessible. Yeah, I have to really think about how I want this header to look, how we're gonna squish this down into one little header. I have a feeling that what I'm going to be doing for the header is hiding the social icons. We've got them in the footer, so I don't feel about hiding them for mobile. I think that's okay. And then, yeah, I think it would be in my best interest to do a mock-up for the header so we don't spend a lot of time yeah, so we don't spend a lot of time messing around with that, because I can, you know me, and responsive headers can take days to work that stuff out. So, okay. Well, everybody, thank you for coming to hang out with me today. I appreciate it. We had a good little crowd here. Do me a favor, if you haven't yet, would you be so kind as to like this video, subscribe if you're new here. I'm here every Saturday and Sunday, right around 10:30-ish a.m. Central Standard Time. We do exactly what you just saw. We just practice HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. It's just a way to practice, build skills, keep our skills fresh. I personally enjoy vanilla, so that's what I've decided to do on this channel. I am going to start doing more members-only content using TypeScript, React, Tailwind, things like that. I think that would make good members-only content, and I do have people asking me to do that. People have been asking me to do that for 2 years, so why not? I feel very strongly about keeping the vanilla content completely free and accessible. I think vanilla is just really important. I don't want us to forget about vanilla. I don't want us to forget about how the internet and the browsers really work. Yeah, so the free stuff is always going to be vanilla. It's always going to remain free. And when I finish my client work for June, look forward to more members only content beginning in July. So with that being said, Everybody, have a great rest of your day wherever you are. Thank you for coming to hang out with me this weekend. I'm so pleased with the work that we got done. Have a great one wherever you are. I will see you back here on Thursday and Friday this week. We're going to do a little 4-day sprint and get these responsive styles knocked out, and then we'll start working on the JavaScript. Okay. Bye-bye.